like a fate is disturbing.
Believe it. Okay.
What's going on, Geeks? You're listening to a very special episode of the Geeks Race podcast. My name is Cody Armour, and I am here with Dr. Barron Bell, Liberty University professor, creator of comics such as Dominion, Radio Free America, and the upcoming Sound of the Trumpet, as well as editor-in-chief of Crux Comics. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited about this interview. This is going to be really cool. I don't read enough comics, but I love comics. I've read a few graphic novels. Anytime I do, I'm really excited about it, but I just don't. I need to put my hand on more, and so maybe this is an excuse to do so.
You should. You really should.
So we're going to start with, we have a few questions here. Our first one simply being all the comics out there. I'm assuming that you've read a few of them. What is your favorite comic book character?
Oh my gosh. You're really starting with the easy ones, huh?
Yeah.
I would say, listen, it vacillates from time to time, honestly.
Okay.
For many, many years, I could actually say it was Iron Man.
Okay.
And this was validated when Marvel, MCU first came out, Phase 1, Iron Man. Okay, that was my man. But then it's literally, I'm just going to be honest. It's between Iron Man and Batman.
Okay.
Which some could argue it's almost kind of like a very similar character.
Yeah, they have some similarities for sure.
Superhuman abilities, but high intellect and technical prowess. So yeah, it's between the two of those guys.
Well, that's awesome. I feel like too with those two, like you're literally looking at two different people that have a lot of like they're very human, right? Like they're always working through something very, very human.
For sure. They have their demons that they work through. And I think that the reason why those two characters resonated with me when I was young is because you could actually see yourself being those characters. You don't need to have been bitten by a spider or have come from an alien planet to actually achieve some type of level of superhuman ability or superhuman greatness or prowess. Those guys literally, they worked and they practiced and, they built their mental capacity or physical capacity to a place where you could actually do that. And then, of course, circumstances helped to lead them in those directions. So, yeah.
That's cool. So kind of leading into that, what got you into comics in the first place? What made you pick up a comic book?
It's funny. I am old enough to have seen Star Wars 1977 in the movie theater.
That's awesome.
Can you have a better origin story than that?
Right.
Come on, man. As I was a kid, going into this darkened movie theater, and then it's dark, and all of a sudden you see and hear, number one, you see the big yellow letters, Star Wars, and then you hear that John Williams, like that first horn blast. Whew, my gosh, that right there was enough to be my gateway.
That's great.
To comics. I mean, that got me, I guess, into more of a imaginative kind of a mindset. But then also my brother, the eldest brother, was traveling, came home, had a suitcase full of comic books. I'm talking like X-Men, the whole, the Hulk, all that stuff. That right there was in addition to the Star Wars kind of initial, like, it really was enough to get me hooked for life,
That's awesome. I love too. I feel like you watch a very specific version of Star Wars. It's really hard to find now.
Yeah,
like
for
you
sure.
don't find he's changed that movie so much over the years. I'm like, that's
unfortunately, for better and for worse, unfortunately, but yes.
Yeah, I don't know how many people realize that, but usually when you're watching Star Wars, even the original movies, like you're really probably watching an updated version of that movie that he's like CGI'd and
Yes.
changed and stuff. So that's really
But
cool.
I heard though that they're thinking about re-releasing the
Original
original
theatrical cuts.
unrefined version of Star
That would
Wars
be
in the
cool.
theaters. And if
In
they
theaters
do
would be
that,
amazing.
but believe me, I will be the first one in the seats with my tickets and my hot popcorn.
Yeah, that's such a specific thing for you to be able to like go back to memory wise. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Uh so you're also a professor at Liberty University, we mentioned. Were you originally planning to have your
Hmm.
academics and your comics kind of merge? Was that kind of the plan? Or did everything just kind of come together in that way?
It's funny because I hadn't thought of it like that, but to tell you the truth, see, this is where God really kind of helps to lead and guide in all things because I put him first in everything, right? I first started out wanting to do, I knew that I was going to be an artist that's in some way, shape, or form capacity. And I knew that I was really good at comics. No one taught me how to do comics at all. No one. And so I had to learn on my own. I had to go to comic book conventions. I had to just start drawing, just reading a lot of books. And so I was doing it on my own. I published my first book, self-published in 2001, and that book was called Cobalt Warrior Angel. And if you are a real comic book nerd and you're somewhere in New York City or whatever, and you're going through long boxes, you might find actually that first book out there that I self-published. Um, After that, I wasn't going into education. I didn't even think I was going to be teaching. But the one thing I knew, and I think God just kind of like put this wisdom in me, is that you had to eat.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but arts then and even now
Mhm.
doesn't generate enough regular income to make sure that you're good on a monthly basis. So I did whatever I could do to make sure that I could eat, but also have ability to do what I love, which is my art. I found out also that I was good at teaching. I really did. So I would be, doing like a vacation Bible school or children's church initially. And then after that, I was doing some volunteer work, teaching GED courses. And then eventually I was doing, just teaching regular art to older people at an art gallery. And so it just literally started to just build this kind of a really good capacity to understand what I was good at. And I knew I was good at art, but I also knew I was good at teaching. So it was a really good kind of mixing of the two things. Eventually,
Yeah, I love that.
well, I did do a little bit of teaching on the public school level with second and third graders. I wasn't. I realized I didn't want to do
Wasn't
that because
it?
you're really not teaching a lot. You're just like breaking up fights, disciplining kids and whatever.
Yeah.
And then I realized that after I was teaching adults, I'm like, okay, I like this because number one, you are interacting with people who actually want to be there,
Mhm.
and then you're also seeing the light bulb go off in this aha moment when they actually acquire this information and they're very appreciative for it. So doing that, it really elevated my desire to just want to keep teaching adults. And so yeah, that's when I started to teach at Liberty and doing the online program. And I've been at Liberty over 10 years.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
mean, we were doing Liberty Online when it was not very old. And so we're just building it up now. It's just amazing. It's massive.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. I love that. Like you said, kind of God has just taken two things that you were really good at, and it's just kind of merged into this perfect. Um, it's one of those things where I feel like it kind of had to be you, like if
Yeah.
not you, then who else? Because it's such a specific um route to have taken through it all. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm always telling artists, it's like, yes, if you can find what you love to do and you can get paid to do it, then that's the goal eventually. But until then, you got to work towards that specific goal by just doing whatever you can.
No, that's really cool. All right, so a bit of a deep cut. You mentioned you've been at Liberty for 10 years. In 2016, you wrote a dissertation on technostress, which I didn't know what that was until I looked it up just a little bit ago. Do you think that's gotten better or worse over the last decade?
Yeah, well, let me just explain what techno stress
Yeah,
is.
that's probably good for
Techno
everyone else.
stress
I know
basically
it now.
is it's basically um the ability or lack of to successfully balance our intake of technology with our overall physical health. And basically what we don't realize is that on a very deep level, our intake of social media, of digital media or whatever, it really does affect us on a health level at a very intrinsic in a very intrinsic way. So if you're not careful, it builds a stress, meaning that what happens health wise when you are separated from that technology, when you're engaging directly, it's almost not like you're getting your regular fix of that. It's almost kind of like a drug. But
Hmm.
what happens when you're separated from that? And that's where my paper was doing the research on the overall maleffects of the lack of technology or lack of this drug, this fix that you get. And so
Yeah.
has it has it gotten better? No, it's not gotten better. It's gotten worse. It's gotten
Yeah,
worse.
for
And
sure.
even since I wrote the paper, I mean, even for myself, I mean, yeah, I wrote the paper, but I mean, I would be lying if I said I would be the chief apologist because I have it myself at times. So it's like I have we all have to, but I will say this though, I have since then learned how to balance it better. um, I've been reading the Word more directly, so getting in the Bible every single day um, helps you to learn how to balance that. Reducing your access to that technology as well. One of the things that my wife and I we do quite frequently, a couple times a week, is we get out of the house and we take long walks. Just take a long walk. And that has been the salvation saving grace of my marriage. It's like literally because we connect directly regularly several times a week. That is apart from the house, apart from technology, and apart from things that literally will distract you from what you really need to be focused on, which is priorities like your relationship with God and your relationship with people.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I really found this all interesting just because I think our specific demographic at Geeks Under Grace, we're a lot of people that are very much online. And so, the effects that that would have on many of us. I've been talking to a lot of pastors lately, and I'll
Mhm.
ask the pastors often, especially with their youth group, I'm like, you got a lot of gamers, in your youth group. And I was surprised. I thought that would be kind of where I'd find them is in the youth group. And they're like, no, they're usually, sports fans or something. And so I came to this
Mhm.
realization. I was like, well, there are Christian gamers out there. Where are they? Well, they're online, and they're in
Mhm.
this digital space. And so I think that there definitely needs to be a conversation of just, you know, you can be online, but you need to be doing something else too. You need to be out in the real world, experiencing everything that God has built for us.
Balance is everything.
Hmm.
Balance is everything. And yes, digital, acquisition of information, it's there. I mean, come on, man. We live in this world, and the Bible tells us to be in the world, but not of the world. So that's where the balance is. It's like, okay, how do we maintain our connection realistically to this world that we have to be connected to, but without it consuming us? And so that's really kind of where the struggle is, where that balance needs to be found. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, I mean, Same way. I was just like, I can't say anything. I'm always online. You better like reading the Bible. I read the Bible on an app on my phone, that has
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah.
social media thing to itself, and definitely very connected. And so I was reading that, I was like, yeah, that I can totally see, where you would need a balance there, like you said. Uh, so I'm curious if you find like a physical copy of a comic. Are you someone who's like, gotta get the physical copy or read it online? What do you prefer? Do you think that fights techno stress in any way?
I think you should do both.
Okay.
I mean, this is where the maturity comes in because you don't need to. I wasn't saying if by paper that you have to cut out technology.
Right.
I was just saying find a balance. I
Yeah.
mean, I read the Bible on my tablet too, but I also have my hard physical copy of my Bible that from time to time I just switch back to just to kind of get that feel. But for comics though, listen, yes, have your digital copy, but you have got to have a physical copy. You have got to. That's how for me I experienced the most euphoria I can say,
Okay.
especially if it's like a really cool comic that I've been waiting for, like Chip Zdarsky did a Batman run, okay, and I had to go physically to the store. I said this a book like this, yes, you can definitely read it online. You can read Batman failsafe whatever, you can read that online, but man, when you go to the comic book store and you're amongst the people, the unwashed masses, and you go into the comic book store and you pick up that book and you see the actual color,
Mm,
not the RGB that you would see on the screen, but you see that actual color, and then the gloss, and then you're opening it up and the colors jump off the page. Bro, not in the world quite like it. You gotta have a
yeah.
physical copy of a comic book. You do, especially if you love art like I do. I mean, I'm a student of art. You know what I'm saying? I studied art history too. So it's like you're not gonna look at you know the Mona Lisa or whatever. You're not just gonna look at that from a screen. No, you're going to want to see if you can find that to really
Person,
appreciate
yeah.
it in person, so
It's
you
a
can
good
actually
point.
see the texture and the brush strokes and all that. So yeah, you have to have a balance. You definitely do.
I'm thinking just like I one of my favorite pieces of art in our house is just an ink of, I think it was from Young Justice. And it's just Raven, but it's this really cool
Come
ink
on.
of the comic book. And if someone just sent
Mm.
that to me online, it would mean nothing. But seeing, like you said, the ink strokes and stuff on the piece of paper is beautiful. It's such a cool little
It's
piece.
almost
But
kind of like you're channeling or you're seeing the artist hand. It's like their
yeah,
fingerprint
wow,
when you see the brush strokes, seeing it up close and seeing, and I think the difference is the texture. It's like you can actually see the texture of the paper underneath, and then you can see the brush stroke. Amazing. So yeah, definitely, I appreciate that.
uh, so we're talking about comics. Let's get into a little bit about Dominion. Um, Dominion, the fall of the House of Saul, right? I get the
Mm-hmm.
full name.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
very cool looking comic. I only got to see just a little bit of it, but I noticed the lions, and then the is it a raven? Is Samuel
Yeah, it's a crow. Samuel is a
Crow?
crow,
Yeah, yeah,
and well, listen, man, I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. You know what I'm saying? And so I loved Thundercats
I'm so glad you said it.
and
Okay, that's immediately what I
I
thought was
mean just
Thundercats.
Transformers, Voltron,
Yeah,
Gundam, just the whole nine. And so
I love that
when
because I
I
was getting that vibe from it
Domin
for sure.
Dominion is it's a retelling of the story of First Samuel,
That's awesome.
King Saul, and the rise of his house. But we're telling it from the perspective of the tail end, after some building of years, um, in the fall of that house. But I didn't want to just tell that story from a traditional standpoint, because I'm a nerd, and so I mean, there's so many swords and sandals recounts
Mhm.
of the Bible and of this era of time, which are amazing, amazing, amazing. I mean, if you look at Wonder Project and what they did with uh the House of Saul and the story of David and all that, man, please, that is like second to none. It's so beautiful. And if you look at what Angel Studios and 5 and 2 did with uh the Chosen
Mhm.
series and
Yeah.
whatever else they're doing, there's a place for all of that and there's a fan base for all of that. But that's not who I was reaching out to. I wanted to reach out to the nerds who, like me, you love the sci-fi elements, you love the
Right.
fantasy elements. And so when I decided to do a biblical tale, it had to be from that perspective. It had to be from much more of a Tolkien or a C.S. Lewis
Mhm.
lens, with, of course, my Christian worldview, but also my nerd worldview too. So Dominion, um, obviously, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to use anthropomorphic characters to represent these historical figures, and I think that there's a good argument to be had about animals delivering wisdom and
Yeah.
and intrinsic truth that can cut through a lot of the screens of race and culture. And so it was, to me, almost kind of like a no-brainer. So when I started to develop these characters, I'm like, okay, well, if you're looking at like a king in the House of Saul and then the House of David, you're going to think of a lion type of a character. And then, I created the high priest Samuel as a crow, because crows are, they're super smart, and but they're also super, kind of finicky and sometimes a little cranky, and sometimes a little sneaky. And so I'm like, I see Samuel in that way. Yeah, he's one of those kind of a characters that you don't know, you can't underestimate them, and you don't know, like, that part in the Bible where Samuel is reproving Saul for not doing the sacrifice before going to battle. I mean, for not waiting for him to do the sacrifice before going to battle, and then keeping the king Agag alive. And it's like, what's up with this? And then the thing that Samuel did was something that I hadn't expected when I first read the Bible, was he took out a sword and killed him. Like, what? Where is this? I'm like, wow, this is like crazy. But that's the beauty and the horror of the Old Testament, which was
Yeah.
sometimes brutality happened when you least expected it. But yeah, so but you know, I wanted to tell a good story that I wanted to read. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a geek and a nerd, all of
Yeah.
that.
It's accessible that way.
And
I
and I
love that.
wanted to make sure that this is something that could keep me, but I happened to find out that it was something that a lot of people wanted too.
That's cool. Yeah, apparently, it's gotten quite a bit of momentum. So in 2025, it won the Realm Award. So congrats on that,
Hmm.
for best
Thank
graphic
you.
novel. And then you have a spinoff in the works, right? There's a spinoff that's happening.
Yeah, so Dominion Volume 2 won the Realm Award for Best Graphic Novel, okay, which is a wonderful, tribute, and I praise God for all of that. The story resonates with people, and so we had, actually, my writer, Daniel Hancock, who is arguably kind of like, Steven Spielberg to my George Lucas. He's amazing. He helps to build these wonderful worlds and take off where I began. So he actually proposed doing a spin-off to Dominion called Border Wars. And Border Wars is a telling of the Book of Judges.
Okay, cool.
And this is going to be kind of like a prequel to the Dominion series, and following young David into the archives, the Dominion archives, to see how do you actually become a good king. and not repeat the mistakes of King Saul. And so, looking back on these wonderful judges of the kingdom of Dominion, which is an analog of the kingdom of Israel, it's like, what did they do, and how were they successful, or what were their flaws and faults? And so, the artwork is is done, and guys, when you see this, it's going to be amazing. Former Disney artist Matt Baker is just like he's killing it. He's killing
That's
it. I
so
mean,
fun.
he is helping to expand what we call the Dominion verse into new and very creative places, and really, I mean, extending the lore and creating Dominion. Yes, it is an analog of the Bible. I mean, an analog of First Samuel, but Dominion is also its own thing, its own world, its own fantasy, sci-fantasy universe that has its own rules. And so it's going to be really amazing to see this technology and all this. We actually, even in our Dominion Volume 1 and Volume 2 books that will be released on Crux Comics, um, in the back of the book, there's like technical manual. It's like the tech of Dominion. So you'll see the
Okay,
ships
yeah,
and the weapons and all sorts of cool things. So it's going to be really fun.
the whole world. So when I'm always curious about this. When you were um, creating Dominion or any of the comic books that you created, do you start going like, "This is the one. This is going to take off," or are you just making something that you know that you would like, and then you're like, "That's good enough"? Where is your head
That's a
at with
very
reading
good
these?
question. That's a very good question. Um, the answer is I don't ever know for sure what's going to resonate. I do know what God puts in my spirit to do.
That's a good answer.
I do know that for sure. And I knew it's something that was nagging me. And the funny thing is, when I get into like this mode of creating these new things, it's almost kind of like when I wake up in the mornings, like that time right before you wake up. It's like that little bit of a transition time between REM sleep and awake and alertness.
Mhm.
It's like that's where God kind of plays in my mind and brings all sorts of interesting things and concepts. It's like my mind is working, my creative mind is working in overdrive at that point. And that's where Dominion really was born. It's like literally like these cool ways of translating the scripture into this cool nerd space where I live and breathe. And how would I love to see it? And so all I know is that when I write stuff that I want to read. I write stuff that I could see possibly being animated and changed and elevated into different ways. When I wrote Radio Free America, which is another book, that was basically from the standpoint of I rarely saw World War III from the perspective of a guy in the hood. That's what that book is, technically speaking. He's a DJ in South Philly, and he happens to be swept up into World War III. and, and God uses his talent of being a DJ and just of being just a really deeply insightful individual to learn how to create a code to help resistance fighters through the music, through hip hop. And I don't necessarily know where that came from, and I don't know how that happened, but I do know that God downloads these ideas into my experience and helps me to translate that into something that is creative and consumable for readers.
Oh, that's really good. Um, yeah, I love that. That was a perfect answer. uh, so Crux Comics, you mentioned, will be released some of your work with the new imprint in July. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they use the word faith adjacent, and I was wondering if you would kind of break that down. What does it mean for a story to be faith adjacent?
Actually, you can look to Angel Studios for that. Angel
Okay.
Studios is doing exactly what we're talking about. We call ourselves what Angel Studios is doing for film and television, what 5 and 2, what Wonder Project, what those guys are doing for film and television, we're doing for comics and graphic novels. It's the same thing. It is starting with an overall Judeo-Christian worldview
Hmm.
with clear absolutes and then building worlds within that structure. So that means that families can be very confident that if they come to read a Crux comic book, it's not going to offend their Christian worldview. It's not going to be something that they have to question the overall deep moral underpinnings of our books, and they're not going to be surprised by something that's going to offend them overall. So, which is unfortunate because that's where this world this is what publishing has become in this world. Um, Places where you would once feel very, very confident in a company. I'm not going to name
Yeah,
the
it's
company,
fine.
but you can
I
kind of
understand.
imply, you can imply, you would once feel very confident that your kids would be safe in this sandbox, and then all of a sudden, something is slipped in that sandbox that you're like, whoa, wait a minute now, I'm not down with that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull my kid out of that sandbox. This is where Crux is. It's like we're not in that sandbox. You're okay. However, here's the thing. Yes, we start out and we have our underpinnings in our Judeo-Christian faith. That's the faith. The adjacency comes from opening the door and welcoming anyone who wants to come in. Okay. How do we do that? We do it by telling strong, solid storytelling, wonderful characterizations, great world building, and fantastic art. Getting the best artists that we can find from all over the world to lend their talents to make our books really solid and can sit on the shelf next to your DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, whatever. You won't be able to tell the difference in quality because we operate in that same realm artistic with the artistry level that they do.
That's great. I'm curious. Trying to think of how to word this. And so you've already touched on it a little bit, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on the importance of faith adjacent content in the world, uh, because secular uh, can mean a lot of things right now, and you've kind of touched on
Mhm.
that. Secular can be pretty dangerous at times. But secular doesn't always mean evil, and so what is the importance culturally of having like a faith first? Um, content or company, and what is its kind of place you think in the ecosystem of um, of the world right now?
It's a good question, Cody. It's a very good question. I think that for me and for Crux Comics, we want to be a safe place to land. We want to be like a port in the storm. We want to be a place where anybody can come and feel like they can they can know what's true, because I think that there's a lot of ambiguity in this world. There's a lot of gray area in this world. Um, and I think that's what we're missing. And the world is crazy right now. It's a very crazy place, and there's a lot of a skewing of truth, which is a problem. It's a
Yeah,
huge
for sure.
problem. Questioning absolutes, questioning laws that we have known to be true for many, many years. And all of a sudden, within the last 10, 20 years, now you're questioning the valid truth that has been established way before we were born. um we're missing that. This world is missing that, and you can see Gen Alpha is missing that too. That's why they're coming back to
Mm,
church. They're coming back to faith. They're getting baptized and coming back to church by the masses. And you can even see that at Liberty University. So we're a port in the storm. We're a safe place to land. We're a place to know where you can go to find objective truth and you're not going to be able to question that. But you're going to have fun doing it too. It's not going to feel like, oh well, I got to go back to read Bible Man again.
Right. Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with Bible Man. Bible Man was cool at the time, but there's some things that won't attract even the young Christian audience because they might feel that it's lame. And it's like, no, we're open for business to anyone who's interested in good, solid storytelling with fantastic looking artwork. So the faith adjacent, it's important. It really is. I mean, you need, warriors on the battlefield who will stand firm and objective truth and tell you and not be afraid to tell that truth even if it means we might lose some people because they may be like, well, I believe blah 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 whatever. Well, no, I believe the Bible.
Yeah.
I believe in Jesus, and so this is where we start. And if you're I'm not going to tell you that you can't hold your particular beliefs or whatever. You can be free. Come on in. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a dialogue. I have many friends who are not Christians, who are people that I love because Jesus loves these people too. I see qualities with them that I love to, latch onto in my life, and I pray for them daily that the Lord grab a hold of them through my relationship somehow, and helps them to come to true faith in Christ. The door is open. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyone can come in, but you got to know these are the rules when you get in the house.
No, I love it too. It feels a lot like um when we talk about like faith forward or faith first. It really seems like it's the foundation. If you have a house, it's the foundation is faith. But the house isn't necessarily a church building. It is, a
Hmm.
house that you are welcome into. There's a seat at the table that you can go to. People are welcome in. When you're just laying the groundwork, and like where we start at is Jesus. Uh, and I love that. I think you brought up Chosen, and there's so many sandal stories we can tell. I think Chosen does an amazing job, but for the most part, it's not a non-believer that's walking in and watching The Chosen. But they
Hmm.
may pull a comic off of a stand that's got really beautiful artwork of these like anamorphic, lions and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's way more accessible in that way. And I think Chosen totally has a place. I've learned so much about The Chosen, even myself. um but getting that accessibility and saying, well, it's faith forward, that's the foundation of it, but anyone's welcome to the house to look around is really cool to me. um
Listen, I have a twin brother, and my twin brother. Listen, I am on fire, faithful, lover of Jesus Christ,
mhm.
unashamed, 100%. My brother is not. My twin brother looks like me. He's not a believer. He used to be, but then he walked away from the faith, which is, listen, everyone do whoever the winds take you, go ahead and take it. But this is where I stand. And this is, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. I showed dominion to my twin brother. The thing that we have in common is we're both geeks. So we may disagree on a lot of things, but we always agree on Batman, Spider-Man. We're ready to see the next Marvel movie that comes out.
Yeah,
And so we have those conversation dialogue. He loves Dominion.
that's
He
awesome.
loves it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, man, this story is great. He doesn't like the fact that it's about the Bible, but he loves Dominion. He read the whole thing and he still loves it. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah,
That's
you
really
might
cool.
have this like a push pull thing that's happening, but at least there's a dialogue happening. At
Right.
least you could say,
Exactly.
listen, you can say, I don't like the Bible all day long, but you cannot say that artwork sucks.
Right.
I dare you to say that. I dare you because you put this artwork next to someone else's artwork at the comic book store, I guarantee you that artwork is going to be as good, if or worse.
Yeah, it's holding
And that's
up.
what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so this is the little thing that brings you in. It's like the carrot, it's
Yeah.
going to bring you in, and Dominion doesn't hit you over the head. It's not. I dare say that if you didn't know And if I didn't tell you that Dominion was the story of King Saul in the Bible, or a retelling of 1 Samuel 14, 15, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You would have no clue, because you would see lions, spaceships, mechs, you would see battles, and that's all you would know. You would think, actually, to tell you the truth, you probably think it's more like Game of Thrones
Okay. Yeah.
before you even think
Right.
it's about the Bible. But I intentionally attached it, kept all the names the same. Okay, King Saul is King Saul, but he just looks like a lion. Samuel is Samuel, he just looks like a crow. You know, so that's the difference. But anyone, it's up to you. If you pick up that in reading the Dominion story, and it makes you want to go back and read the source material, which is the book of the Lord, the book of the Bible, go ahead and do that. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I did do it, so that you could use this as a primer to get you to read the actual Bible itself, just to see, how does this line up. Okay, does it line up perfectly? No, and I don't ever claim to be. I'm not a theologian, but I do know that I love the Bible, and I'm not claiming that, oh, here is Dominion, you can replace the Bible with Dominion. No, you
Right.
can't. Don't even try
This is
to
the Bible
replace
in
the,
space.
the Bible with Dominion. It's not. It's inspired by, and it has great truth, biblical truth that you can latch onto. But even if you're a non-believer, even if you hate, Christianity, whatever, you're gonna love this because it reminds you of something that you love, which is like Game of Thrones or something like that.
Oh, that's super cool. Well, I also was looking. You have an upcoming project called Sound of the Trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
You're often dealing with
Under the
heavy
trumpet.
topics, and what can often be seen as like a lighter medium, comic books. How do you balance making content that is accessible while making content that respects heavier topics like abolition in your next project?
Well, once again, the Lord literally brought this to me. I will say this though. At a certain point in time, when I was doing comics early on, I was literally just writing books and doing comics as a cool thing to do, because I saw like Chris Claremont, Alex Ross, Rob Liefeld back in the day, um, uh, my boy Frank Miller
Yeah.
doing The Dark Knight, you know, um, and I was doing it for that reason, because I thought it was cool. For many, many years, my wife would be like, "Well, you're a Christian. Well, what are you doing, bro?" And she's like, "You have this wonderful talent. You really should merge your faith with your art." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, whatever." For many years, but finally I did. I mean, finally the Lord kind of like, used this woman to hit me spiritually over the head. And so that's when these deeper uh legacy projects started to emerge. And Sound of the Trumpet is one of those legacy projects. Sound of the Trumpet is the story of Frederick Douglass and John Brown and their interactions leading up to Harper's Ferry. And that led to the Civil War, which led to the abolition of slavery. Okay. Douglass and Brown wanted the same end goal, which is the abolition of slavery. They had two different methodologies of getting there: the pen versus the sword. And this is really, and both of them thought and they believed that they were commissioned by the Lord to do their particular means of abolition of slavery. John Brown, very brutally violent. Frederick Douglass, the orator. Okay. This is that story. Their friendship, but their rivalry, and how to achieve the same goal. And I've been wanting to tell a Frederick Douglass story since I read his autobiography in 2018. And so my whole thing was, you know, this amazing, amazing uh, historical figure who happened to be a Christian did an amazing thing, lived a life that many of us would be honored to live and envy the fact that the man pulled himself out of slavery and just worked, but also loved the Lord, did his thing. The Lord blessed him in many ways, and in many ways he was definitely hurt in a lot of different things. My whole thing was, how do I bring a story like that into a modern day context with the ability to reach a modern audience? And to me, graphic novels is really the best way to do it. I mean, yes, you can do a movie, but movie will come and go. No one will remember it. You know what I'm saying? Or it will sit on the shelf, and then after a while, it's like whatever. With a book, with graphic novel, you can have that in libraries. You can have
Yeah.
that as public school curriculum. You can have that. That has the capability of outliving you, just like the Bible does. The Bible outlives us. The Bible will always be in circulation. And with a story like Sound of the Trumpet, you know, it's a story. It's a historical narrative, so anyone can access that. You can have it in your school, your library, whatever part of curriculum, because it's history. So that's not going anywhere. And to me, being able to have the Lord download the general idea of telling a Douglas story, and then one of my buddies in Hollywood, he basically we were working on another story, actually adapting Radio Free America, which we're going to eventually do. And we always talked about, because he had an interest. His name is Jim Morrison. He always had an interest in telling a John Brown story, just standalone John Brown story. And I always had the interest in telling a standalone Douglas story, which eventually I will. But then he started writing this script, and he's like, you know what? There's a place where they interact. I'm like, oh, really? I didn't know that they actually were contemporaries. I didn't know they knew each other. I didn't know if they had plotted together
Yeah.
the possible insurrection at Harper's Ferry. But there's this intersection of history where these two legendary historical figures came together at one inflection point. And that was a story I love to tell. And so I said to Jim, let's do it. And so he actually started to do it as just chopping it as a feature film, which is he's currently doing. But I said, let's do that as a graphic novel, bro. It's like you already have a great idea for your script. You're already writing it. I already have the Douglas material. Let's bring it together. And so he was like, oh, okay. And so he got with his script writer, Dustin Green. I got with my partner, Daniel Hancock, to adapt it into a graphic novel format, and the rest is history. And so once we were working with another company, Terminus Media, to actually get we were doing our initial books with them, and then we got acquired by David C. Cook. And so then, of course, David C. Cook was planning on doing the Crux Comics kind of imprint, spinoff from David C. Cook. And this was a natural thing to bring on alongside the other books as well.
Cool. You mentioned a lot of names there. That was actually kind of perfect. You're very collaborative with your works. Usually working
Yeah.
with a lot of different people. So what advice would you give to someone wanting to lean into this faith adjacent comic book like world?
Um, I would say, if you have an idea, don't wait till someone gives you permission to do it, or don't wait to raise money and all that other stuff. If you have an idea, just start doing it, putting it down. If you're a writer, start just writing. Write it all down. Don't worry about, okay, well, how am I going to get this out? Don't worry about that. If you feel that you have that spark that comes inside from the Holy Spirit to help you create something, God will help to provide. Just like with me, I never knew that I was going to be the editor in chief of the Christian, imprint. I didn't start out with that goal. God just kind of led me here through a whole series of events. But no one paid, no one, I didn't have any money to do my first book, Cobalt, back in 2000, Cobalt Warrior Angel. I had the spark in me and the desire, and just I went hustled. I was grinding. I actually put this. put the story together. I drew it all out, and then I found some resources to help me get it out. And so that's really the thing you got to do. Just do it. Just don't
I'll say
wait.
so. Just do
Just do it.
it.
And just do it. Just like Michael Jordan, just do it back in the day. Some of you
Yeah.
guys are too young to remember that ad campaign, but
Hey, I was a
just
huge
do it.
Space Jam fan, so
Yeah. And so the thing is, it's like, um, but also you realize that you cannot operate in a vacuum. You need to hustle to find the resources to help you, the people to help you, people that can actually join your vision with their
yeah,
vision and do what the Lord would have them do. Um, I think education is the key. After inspiration is education. You have to hustle to learn what you don't know.
mm,
So if that means going to comic book conventions, go to comic book conventions. If that means joining a writers group, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of Christian writers group out there. Just join a writers group. Facebook, go on Facebook. You know, a lot of you'll find a lot of things that you don't know, or a lot of people that are like you. There's a Facebook group for that. I guarantee
yeah.
you, there's a Facebook group for that. Um, YouTube is a gem of
Mhm.
information. You just go to YouTube and you can literally learn how to draw, or how comic book artists do their things. Watch documentaries on how other people got to where they were and be successful. How did they do it? So I don't. I'm not a. I'm never one to say that I'm a victim and I have to wait for something to happen. As long as the spark is in me, I can make it happen myself with the help of the Lord. And if
Yeah.
you put Him first in all things, your thoughts and all of your wishes and all of your desires are going to align with His desire for you. That's the truth. And that's kind of where I am. I'm living proof, man. I can't ever take any credit for anything that I've ever done, because it's the Lord who put it in me to do it first.
Amen.
And that's the way I'm gonna run comics. We put Him first in all things, and then we love. We should share the love with the world. That's all you gotta do. And practice, practice, practice. If you don't know it, you gotta you gotta practice to get better and better and better. And that's really it, man. So I'm just like, I'm very blessed. What can I say? I'm just very blessed, and I wanna share that blessing with the world. And one thing that I have done as a practice every morning, I in my prayer time, I will repeat. Um, I think it's I can't remember the psalm, but it's the psalm where it says, "May the favor of the Lord rest upon me. Establish the work of my hands for me." Yes, establish the work of my hands. Okay? And I say that every morning before my day gets started, because it's literally me channeling that spirit of Bezalel, who created the Ark of the Covenant. Just channeling that spirit, that the Holy Spirit came upon his hands, and it enabled him to create one of the most beautiful ancient relics of all history, the Ark of the Covenant. Guess what? I have that same spirit in me. You have that same spirit in you. All Christians, people who love the Lord, you have the same spirit in you, and you channel that spirit. And who knows what God can do with it? Great things can abound. You just have to let it happen and put Him first. I could preach all day, brother. I'm so sorry I'm taking up
No,
this
that's
time just
perfect.
preaching.
Yeah, I guess to bottle that up. So the advice is do it, find others that are doing it, and then pray about it the whole time.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I would say also, um, if you're open and you are allowing yourself to be in spaces where you can be found, people will find you. One of the things that I was doing initially when I was doing Dominion, I would literally like draw characters and draw a page and then I would put it out on Instagram, or I would put it out on Facebook or Twitter, and then eventually people would say, "Hey, that's cool. You know what?" And ask more questions. That's where Daniel Hancock. He literally, I just put stuff out, and he was like, "Man, this is so cool. What are you doing?" And then he would DM me, and then we would talk via DM, and I found out that he was doing, like, he's a director, producer of plays and screenplays and all sorts of cool stuff. And he did a whole, like, audio drama about the life of Jesus and everything. I'm like, what, bro? How are you contact? So that's how God works. But you do it, and then you have to put yourself out there in a way that you can be found.
Yeah, that's really practical advice. No, I totally agree with that. Like Facebook groups, like you said, or Discords, and not necessarily being in a Discord group, but like really embed yourself in the community that you want to be a part of, and saying, uh, you're not gonna be like, look at my comics right there in that community. But if you are constantly giving your knowledge of comics or whatever it is that you're trying to get into, and you're like, who is this guy, or who is this
Yeah.
girl, and they look you up, they're like, oh, he's got actually, this repertoire
It
of things.
yeah, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and
Hmm.
things don't happen overnight. They don't. I mean, I hate to say it, guys, but you gotta have to take some time and be patient. It's the P word. A lot of people hate is patience.
Hmm.
I guess it's practice and patience. But you just have to take the time, and just let the Lord lead you however He's gonna lead you. But I think the Lord honors our patience, but He honors our diligence as well. As long as our heart is in the right place, just work hard, man. Just work hard. I tell my students, my art students at Liberty, it's like, if you want to get better at drawing, draw from life. Get your sketchbook. And just like with Michael Jordan sleeping with the basketball and just that dribbling as he walks, whatever, that's how you get better as you practice that muscle memory. It's the same thing with art. You have to have muscle memory, but you have to draw from life. Draw what's in front of you, a car, a person, a cat. You should see my Pinterest page for Dominion. It's like animals. It's just filled with animals left and right, man. But I became a student of lions, of crows, of cheetahs, of just
Yeah.
all sorts of different animals, and that's, yes, God wants you to have that heart and the spirit to do things, but you also have to do the work yourself too. You have to put into time in the practice too.
That's awesome advice. So Crux Comics just getting started. What does the future
Yep.
look like for Crux Comics? What's the 5-year plan?
Crux Comics is it's going to be amazing, bro. Crux is going to be amazing. See, here's the thing. We're building a brand new comic book imprint from scratch.
Mhm.
We're building off of David C. Cook, which has over 150 years of just putting out wonderful content. David C. Cook created the Picture Bible back in the day. They were
Oh
like
wow, okay.
one of the first Bibles out, comic book Bibles out there. DC tried to do it, but David C. Cook really did it. And then the Action Bible came out. My boy Sergio Cariello
I got that
doing some
somewhere over
fantastic
here.
work with the Action Bible.
Yeah, there it
Yeah,
is.
the Action Bible is amazing, man, and the Faith in Action edition, and it's just, yeah, David C. Cook is just, they're cooking, they're literally cooking,
Yeah.
right? And they're, I mean, with the Action Bible and all, but they wanted to reach out to the next generation in a new and different way. So Crux is literally like the evolution of the Action Bible. It is okay. We have this age group locked. How do we reach an older age demographic, not necessarily with Bible stories, but stories that can lead people back to these good, solid Judeo-Christian morals and ethics. And some of those will actually transfer back to the Action Bible. Some of them won't. But how do you actually to build off of that to literally propel the company into the future? And this is what the Crux Comics initiative is all about. Really just trying to build that separate graphic novel comic book imprint that could rival other comic book companies, DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse. And we're kind of like in the same space as Eric July is doing with the Rippaverse, and he's doing a fantastic job over there with Rippaverse. I'm not gonna lie, it's they're doing some really excellent work. But ours is much more faith focused. Um, Although there are a lot of titles that won't necessarily be a faith based, comic series, whatever. But the Judeo Christian underpinning is undeniable with Crux Comics. So what we're planning on doing in the next 5 years, I mean, we're going to be in July launching our books. We're going to be at the Realm Makers Conference in St. Louis. This is going to be the end of this in a couple of weeks, actually, June 24th to the 27th. So if you guys are there in the area, come down. We will have a booth there. We're actually going to be launching officially at the awards dinner at Realm Makers. It's going to be great. And that's literally the launch pad. So we have Dominion launching volumes 1 and 2. We'll have The Chosen. We'll have this wonderful book called Case Files, which is a literal fantastic. If you like investigation discovery, guys, you're gonna love Case Files because it's literally taken J. Warner Wallace and Jimmy Wallace's son, both police detectives. J. Warner Wallace is a fantastic apologist, scripture. I mean, cold case Christianity. Hello. Well, this is the guy, So if you like that, he actually takes a lot of his worldview and literally puts it into this graphic novel of like a real set of cases, and it's like the case files. It's like a literal. If you like investigation discovery, you're gonna love Case Files. It's amazing graphic novel, and it goes back to it has, yes, it's dynamic. There's a little bit of action and drama in it, adventure, but at the same time, there is this kind of like a Judeo-Christian. That the Case Files one is the subtitle is Murder and Meaning, and so it's really literally just thinking about these really deep topics of morality and meaning and just what does my life mean and all this other stuff. This really good stuff. So there's that. There's Radio Free America, which is literally our World War III epic, which is literally like I call it Red Dawn meets The Wire. If anyone
All right.
knows those references, it's a hip hop meets World War III epic. It has some fantastic. I mean, we do a lot of allusions to music and hip hop, and how do you communicate messages through music to the resistance who's trying to take back. It's also a cautionary tale that what we love and enjoy about our country can be taken away. It can be. And what would you do if that happens? Would you be afraid, or would you stand up and fight for it? And you'd be surprised at who actually stands up and fights. And so that's Radio Free America. So that's our initial starting roster. Okay, we got these books, and we plan on building those franchises, building those IP into larger, longer running series. And we're going to add to that slowly but surely over time. But you don't want to overburden your roster initially. You got to start out with with a few really good, strong, solid titles. That's why we have The Chosen, we have Dominion, Case Files. So you just find your audience with those books, curate those audiences to build them and make them excited for the next volume of Dominion, the next volume of Case Files, which we're working on right now. And then, as you're slowly but surely building a solid foundation that can hold the weight of future stuff, then you can experiment and you can try different things and you can reach out. And so that's kind of where we are right now. We're in the process of building our foundation right before we launch, and then we launch very strong, and then just start to slowly but surely solidify the foundation that we were going to build. And so the next 5 years, you're going to see that process happening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bell, for joining us. If anyone wants to find you or just stay updated on what you're doing, what's a good place to go?
For Crux Comics, The website is up now, cruxcomics.com, www.cruxcomics.com. And then we also have a presence on Facebook. We have a presence on Instagram, cruxcomics.com. And then for me personally, it's Dr. Bell Creates, just that. And it's on Facebook, X, Instagram, Dr. Bell Creates.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us. It was great getting to hear from you. And thanks to the listeners for listening. Till next time.
God bless.